morning.
Sir, you're not audible now, sir. I think your mic is mute.
Hello, is it audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir, you're audible.
extremely sorry. I have some kind of like the laptop is having showing some trouble. I lost quite a lot of slides. I started the effort in the early morning because trying to make everything consolidated in a slide is very difficult. So I started the works, but unfortunately around 8:30 some crash happened and I'm trying to recover. So only recovered quite a lot of some slides. So hopefully I think there won't be any big issue. I will continue what exactly to be conveyed. Okay, so thanks again we need for this opportunity. Okay, so before getting into the details, I would like to introduce myself in an academic perspective as well as the startup perspective. I'll just go to the presentation mode. Hope it's visible, right?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah. So I basically I'm from Kerala itself. I came from Malappuram district, Tirur, and did all my schooling there in Tirur. Then I went back. I mean, went to Chennai for doing my biomedical engineering in the period 2002 to 2007, where my specific interest was to play with the instruments because somehow that kind of interest actually built up in the childhood days because working with the different hospital related instruments, that was one of the key passion. Then with continuing that passion I went there. Then especially in the clinical side, when I was very much interested in pursuing kind of a the to become a doctor MBBS. But of course the entrance and everything, no, like I could not go into that direction, but eventually I had to opt this option. Secondly, from there, then there was a question, what next? Okay, so I was interested because after entering this field, what I realized is we need to get quite a lot of experience and as well as higher education in this one to have a better career. That was very well clear during my BTech days. But I don't want to, because that was a time when people started thinking getting a engineering degree and going for an IT job. That was a typical trend happening all throughout. Many of my friends are even in the IT industry right now. But I want to stick on to this career. I mean, this, domain, and need to kind of pursue in that one. So even initially I was thinking, okay, I should have a early experience with some company, then go for a higher studies. But luckily I found a course, nanotechnology, nanomedical science related course, getting started in Amrita in our Rapalli campus, Cochin campus, where I realized, okay, this because during my BTech days I heard quite a lot of about nanotechnology, so I wanted to try that. And there were quite a lot of events the in the last semester exam itself, the interview was one date before, so many of my friends skipped this, but I actually tried it to enter it here in this campus. So from there I did MTech in 2019. I passed out and I was working with various aspects, like for example, since because of the interest in the instrument side, I work with the characterization tools, nanomaterials, where the dimension is 10 power minus 9 meters. It's a much lower dimension. So we need to characterize these materials with various tools like electron microscopy. Another one is atomic force microscopy. So I was exclusively working with atomic force microscopy. Okay, so but that was a very sensitive instrument in that aspect. Like we don't know what exactly is happening. What was the failure issue? A little bit very sensitive instrument. In some words, I can say these instruments used to keep it in the ground floor to avoid the vibrations from the building. So you can expect what kind of an instrument it will be. So and practically there were no, even though there are faculties, but to help us in the practical aspect, no, very challenges were there. And I actually mastered in those 2 years how to work with this instrument and how to excel in, I mean, how to get good outputs from that instrument. And by the time I passed out from masters, I was having a very good paper in applied physics lectures, which everyone knows it's a bible of physics, which was very unless to get it published in such kind of a journal. Then the campus and my faculties, everyone was very interested to continue my PhD in the same campus, because that was during that time it was a kind of in the early stages. We started with 2 labs, very only small 2 labs with 3 faculties, and if I'm correct, 5 PhDs that time. And over the years it had grown to more than 25 faculties, more than 50 PhD students, and one of the well equipped facilities in the country where we can develop any kind of a nanomaterial based system for the clinical applications as well as for solar, I mean, energy applications. So in my PhD during those times, okay, I could gone through many R&D related activities, like how to, in fact, the basic research component itself came up once I reached this kind of Amrita when during my master's time, because I always was thinking, okay, biomedical is all about instrument. My perspective got completely changed after entering and experiencing such kind of a world. So during these periods, I experienced all these aspects, like how to have a proper research methodology, how to make it execute scientific experiment analysis, dealing with instruments, and all those aspects. But within me, like I was kind of a knowing that I'm not a kind of a person actually fits into a completely research or academic setting. Somewhere I always have it, okay, I need to jump to some application oriented industry, okay, where it is more applied than a basic research. So that was my intention, and I luckily I landed up in the PhD topic developing a developing a methodology for Raman, cancer diagnostics using Raman spectroscopy. Everyone knows CV Raman, like he invented the Raman effect, and using shining a light on the tissues, okay, whether we can realize or whether we can characterize that tissue is a cancer or not, okay. So this has been tested by many researchers over the years, but the problem is the signal is very weak, okay, the Raman signal is very weak, and especially from biological thing, it is very difficult to identify this kind of a spectrum, okay. So my objective was to how to enhance this and how to make it to a clinical model, okay. That was my PhD, and we could, with the help of nanotechnology, we could develop some kind of surface enhanced Raman scattering to improve the signal. And that was my area, and I work with the different spectroscopy tool, clinicians, and hospital samples. And finally we could develop, and also to some extent, some kind of a algorithm, statistical algorithms. Nowadays everything is known as artificial intelligence or machine learning kind of a tools, which help us to predict what exactly is the kind of spectrum and where it actually get classified, okay. So it is something like training some kind of a patterns or spectral patterns using these algorithms of various samples, for example, healthy, pre-malignant, malignant, or any other condition. Then we will try to give a unknown sample and ask the system to predict what exactly is that. So that's the overall methodology. And during those days, hell of an experience in this field. And even we could work with different material systems. That time, the graphene, everyone knows that now how hot topic is graphene based energy devices industries, so these are getting very hot nowadays. So we could also work with graphene and similar materials. What actually is the biological impact, injecting it in animals, where exactly is getting accumulated, whether it is getting excreted out, or whether there is any changes happening in the material system. So we already had a good publication in that. That publication is even cited by the Nobel laureate of graphene, Novoselov. So what I want to convey is that in the research and development sector, I had a kind of a very good exposure. And but what after this? Okay, that was the major question. Since I worked in this kind of a domain, I wanted to take this device into a portable. Then only it will have a clinical utility. Nobody will work with a microscope device and somewhere in the corner of the lab one getting. So we need to make it as a kind of a reliable, portable, real time device. So that time I again got a chance to know about some of the government scheme DST Inspire faculty program, where this they are actually trying to stop the brain drain. Okay, people taking PhD from here and going to abroad. Rather, the government will DST will fund for our research activities, as well as provide us a kind of a salary and all support, something similar to IIT assistant professor equivalent positions. Okay, so I opted again Amrita for this, and in that the project, the main thing was my PhD findings to make it to a kind of a portable device and test it. So that part is already over, and one more PhD under me is kind of a completing from there, and he developed a beautiful device. Now it's about for publication and further aspect. But officially, my tenure is over by 2020. Then again, what was the question, like whether to continue as a typical academician or researcher, teaching students, writing projects, and again trying to identify some fundamental problems, getting solution for that, or take some technology and reach to the society. This was the question actually which I actually faced. So keeping that intention with all my thoughts, and I finally realized, okay, go to the other side. Okay, whether the technology can be taken and reach to the society. That was my intention. So with that intention, during my PhD itself, we kind of as a team, because I will introduce my team. So try to frame different structures, platforms. So in the lower side, you can see in the entrepreneur journey. So far, we have different organizations. One is actually Thanmatra Life, other one is actually Lexmatra Innovations, and the third one is Butterfly Cancer Care Foundation. We cannot purely say it as a commercial activity, but that is more of a social or a social entrepreneur. Maybe you can say that. So in the early, I will come to that. So I'll introduce each of these first. So Tanmatra, we actually incorporated in the year 2020. Basically, the driving force during that time is COVID. Okay, because everyone know how badly COVID hit, and we were trying very hard to get kind of hello.
Hello, Girish sir. Is it
Yeah,
audible?
sorry, I something happened. Failure. The internet got disconnected. Yeah. So I'll share it again. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So so everyone was trying hard to get kind of I mean, protection and vaccine kind of products to fight COVID. Correct. So it was a complete bad time, and the government was strongly recommending all the researchers to come up with innovative ideas, especially fast track development of vaccines, things like that. So when we looked in that aspect, no, what are the major challenges? Basically, in the prevention aspect, what we can do, that we thinking. Like for example, only the major tools available for the local person is to have kind of a proper hand sanitization and mask, right? So, but when we look in that aspect, even sanitization, alcohol-based sanitization is very instant product, I mean instant process. Okay, but that time there were no products available in market which will help us to retain this hand sanitization or long-lasting protection for our hands. So we thought of such kind of an idea whether we can improve the time duration of this hand protection with the normal sanitizers. Since we were working with quite a lot of pharmaceutical based ingredients in our lab, okay, we were knowing many of the properties, how to play with these kind of a material systems. So what we modified the composition. We used this base platform as the WHO recommended sanitizer composition, and in addition to that, we used some kind of an excipients which commonly used in the pharmaceutical industry for tablet coatings and things like that. So that the effect is actually, so once we apply the sanitizer, this will form a kind of a thin layer over hands. Okay, it's a biopolymer. It will form a very thin layer of over the hands, and once we try to touch a surface, contaminated surface, or when we shake hands with a person having COVID, naturally what happens, the virus or the bacteria will have a kind of a sometime in contact with this layer, and it will get inactivated. This has been tested in labs and also in different third-party agencies. And this was the product we proposed, and we applied for various government schemes, and they supported it. And likewise, there was one more product which was a simple innovation for converting our mask. Okay, basically we know the all the 3M based mask and 95 masks were very costly, more than 100 and 200 rupees in the early days. But we don't know how to disinfect it, or we don't have any solution which makes the mask to go to a next level. Like for example, mask is only a filtration. It filters the bacteria or virus particles. But apart from that, if, for example, if you touch the surface of the mask, there is a chance that the virus or bacterial particle can spread up to the hands. So we modified another method, like we provided a alcohol-based solution with some ingredients and proprietary ingredients, where once it sprays to the mask, all the fibers will get some the chloroxidine gluconate kind of a molecules adsorbed to the surface. It will attach to the fibers, and it will also have a long-lasting effect. For example, when we travel in public place, the bacteria or virus coming in contact with the mask will get eliminated. So that was the intention, and again we proposed. So luckily, both these products got good acceptance in the technical reviews and all those stuff. And in fact, the Liquidum product was one of the winner in a national event in national level. 3 products, I mean, out of many products, out of 3 products were selected, and one was this Liquidum. Okay, this was conducted by WHO, UN Women, and my government program. Likewise, many different recognitions we got in the technical side. Now coming to the business side, I will that is our experience that will come to this. So these were the products. Right now, these products are available in online segment. Okay, Amazon, Flipkart, and if you look major highlights, we were surprised to see that in a single day we could get a revenue of 1 lakh rupees in a very single day through these online platforms. So that was the moment we realized what is the strength of these online platforms compared to the retail segment. And it's actually right now listed in top 50 sanitizers. Like now itself, the business is almost going good, but not to the extent where, because of course everyone knows that nobody uses sanitizers nowadays. But whoever had a habit of this kind of using sanitizers, we are actually giving them a value addition. So because of that, some users always used to purchase nowadays. So these are the activities happening around Thanmatra. And I will come to the real journey part in the second half, after introducing what all things we are doing. Now coming to the Lexmatra. So this is the area where we are working with our own expertise. I mean, because the other one is a typical FMCG industry. You can say that how the marketing and how the all other aspects are covered, then it can be a successful model. But we are always keeping an intention that whatever products we are trying to introduce should be an innovative product rather than going for a generic product. That was our intention. But here, what we are doing in Lexmatra is it's a cancer immunotherapeutic startup. So I think many of might be aware about the word immunotherapy, because in cancer we currently used to provide various chemotherapeutic agents as the therapeutic mode. Like it will directly target the DNA or like faster growing cells will be killed. Okay, so along with that, quite a lot of side effects we will be getting. But immunotherapy is a different area where we are trying to equip our own immune cells to identify the cancer and kill it rather than bringing an external agent. Okay, because our body has got enormous strength and power. It is designed in such a way that it should sustain, or it should go with all hard or such kind of an environment. It's a self-sustainable model, right? Our body itself, okay, whatever is required, it is actually helping within the body itself. We have the power to develop that. And this immune system has got enormous activity, like fighting with bacteria, virus, regeneration, like many aspect. Immune system has got wrought. So cancer is one kind of a state where it is actually caused because of escape from our immune system. Okay, the immune cells are not able to identify, okay, this is a cancer cell, this need to be destroyed. Okay, that event is not happening, and as a result, the cancer is recognized as the self kind of a, I mean, it's a body's part, I mean, its own body, and it starts multiplying. And further, once it reaches to a very high cell count and with some kind of associated symptoms and spread, it will show symptoms that can be an advanced stage, which the treatment is always, very difficult. So this is the area we are working, and with our own knowledge in the kind of a different nanomaterial system, we are trying to develop different cancer vaccines and vaccine adjuvants, so that it will, for example, I can convey it in a simple sense. Everyone knows the COVID vaccine, correct? So the COVID vaccine, everyone claims about what is the kind of percentage efficiency it is getting. Okay, because the antigen will go into the body. Okay, it will, our immune cells will provide antibody and neutralization antibodies, and several cascades of mechanisms happens there. But the efficiency factors, for example, 65% efficiency or 90%, Pfizer vaccine has got 95% efficiency, mRNA vaccines, Moderna. So we are trying to propose a different mechanism where, with this help of this novel proprietary material adjuvants, the activation of immune cells will be much higher, so that the effective efficiency is much higher compared to the conventional vaccine. That's the bottom line. And we can also engineer these systems in such a way that multiple immune cells can be targeted. Okay, not, for example, B cell or plasma cells are the antibody producing cells. Whereas in cancer, if you look, the T cells, the cytotoxic T cell has got kind of a potential to kill the cancer cells. But no medicine or drug is actually targeting that, whether to enhance the activation of T cells. So likewise, we engineered in such a way that multiple immune cells can be targeted and its activity can be controlled. Along with that, we can provide the antigen. So compared to the conventional vaccines, nowadays everyone knows mRNA vaccine is very potential, like it's a new generation vaccine. Likewise, this will be another aspect we will be trying to cover. So now this is in a phase where it is supported by various government startup programs from Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC, and also few angel investors are also involved. So what we are trying to do is we will be kind of going for a phase 1 clinical trial in the next year. So some regulatory toxicity related aspects will be kind of, it is kind of ongoing right now. So to explain my team, this is the team, and Dr. Mansoor, he is my teacher. Basically, I came here along with him for his, to continue the PhD, and because of his inspiration and the continuous, interactions over the long years, we started our journey together. So he's the key scientific person, and I am trying to slowly pitch into from the scientific side to the industry side, because if you look all the figures, all the photographs here, we are actually almost alike, in the sense everyone is having a common research interest and things like that. But in our team, there is a kind of a lacking. Okay, we don't have any business person in this one. Okay, so someone should actually take that role, learn it. Okay, so my responsibility right now is to slowly move away from the research side and focus more on the business side and the strategic associations and how to take up to the next level, things like that. Dr. Vijay is a clinician, basically. He's a nuclear medicine guy, and right now he's heading Rajagiri Hospital, a nuclear medicine department. And Dr. Anisha, he's my colleague. Again, we did a master's together, and she was also inspired faculty in Cochin University. And after that, she is taking a break for her the kid, and will be coming back to the company very soon. So this is the core team. We actually framed this over the years, maybe 13, 14 years of, our relation. And that's how the Lexmatra event is actually going on. And this is actually our first spin-off, maybe we can say in a different, the Butterfly Cancer Care Foundation. So this is a completely under the charity setting. Okay, and all you can see our own colleagues and friends and students along with the various supporting kids. You can see it in that, because from here my slides completely got damaged. So just before the meeting, I just put a screenshot from the website. So what we like during my PhD days, we realized that the pediatric cancer has got can be kind of quickly treated. I mean, the success percentage is very high compared to the adult cancers. So because since our the research floor is also at Amarda is also spaced in the near to the pediatric ward, we could see quite a lot of cancer affected kids coming, and we used to, our own friends in the clinician sides, they used to come up with different stories. Because of the lack of fund, they are not able to get it treated. So that was the point. We thought, why can't we kind of arrange, since we know that the success rates were very high, why can't we try to arrange some kind of financial support? Because we are a big network, we know different researchers, I mean, very good network of friends. If we ask, definitely they will pull in money. So all those started with such kind of a small kind of a collection of funds, and randomly getting some requests from the hospital side or from the friends to support those patients. Then I'm not sure how actually it grown. It actually grown over the years with multiple programs, because this is not our mainstream activity. This is what we are doing during our free timings and things like that. But out of God's grace or some intention or some good thought, it actually kind of a grown in such a way that by now it has got multiple programs like supporting financially these pediatric cancer patients, then taking care of their education. Okay, many of the cancer affected families, the kids from the cancer affected families, they very much struggle in their the education part, because the parents used to shift to multiple places for chemotherapy treatment, so nobody will be there, and financially also there. So we used to support educational. Then because every challenges we faced after, after interacting with the patients, we realized these are the areas we need to venture into. Okay, there are situations where when the patients are getting older, older patients, there will be no one to take care. You're surprised to see that the parents, the father or mother, will be completely lonely. The kids, the very grown up people with the well settled people, they are not interested to take care of their parents. Very extreme situations we used to come across. So there are actually programs to support the family. Sometimes it will be kind of a monthly pension scheme, maybe 2000 itself per month for a family, maybe good enough to get a grocery items. Okay, so there are even families like that. So there are programs for the woman empowerment kind of an activity. Then we have our own pharmacy where we are not taking no margins. Okay, with the CSR support, with the help of confident builders and many others, we run a pharmacy in Cochin city where we will not take any margin. The patients get the chemotherapy drugs completely subsidized. Whatever price we are getting, purchasing the medicine, we are actually selling it. All the other overheads will be supported through the CSR programs. So that actually established in 2020, and now recently we are kind of again tie up. Coming up with a different program, Manas. Okay, that is basically to take up the psychosocial activities of these patients, because that is not too much well studied in Kerala. Especially if you look at the Western countries, that is equally important, because if we can empower, or if we can educate the patient to fight against the cancer, okay, to give confidence, that itself is the first medicine. Okay, compared to the chemotherapy agent, because most of the patients actually completely out of stress they face. So to support that activity, we have one more program, and likewise multiple program. And one of the recent activity good thing happened is that we are tying with quite a lot of organizations in the city, and we got shortlisted for a international event. Okay, there is a organization called UICC, Union for International Cancer Control, something like WHO in cancer, and they are at Geneva, and they are conducting some program for city cancer challenge. Okay, so in that, Butterfly is the only, the Cochin city is the only city kind of selected for this program from India. Okay, so far in world, almost nearly 15 cities have been selected in various countries. This year we got shortlisted. They are coming from the Geneva team is coming for the next month for the due diligence process. So overall, the objective will be to get a equitable cancer care throughout the community in the city. Okay, whatever the disparities, that should be avoided with the help of multiple stakeholders. Like, for example, there'll be industry partners, there'll be hospital partners, charity setting partners, government will be involved to bring new policies and things like that. So hoping that will go fine, and if everything goes fine, definitely that will be a good move for our city, Cochin city. So these are the overall activities going from our side. Now, yeah, so from here I will actually move on to a different mode, because all the presentations got I mean fail, no? So now coming to the real time, I mean, what exactly is this journey all about? Like I said about, okay, it was a kind of a transition from an academic setting to an industry. Okay, correct. But how prepared we were? Okay, that was the main question. For example, in Thanmatra, I can assure we have a product. Okay, we have an innovative product, but that product, if I am really looking back, that is a failure. Okay, we did a big innovation. Okay, we awards and technical, I mean, achievements, but in the market side, it's a failure. Why? Because initially we were actually immediately looking for a solution. Okay, we were actually looking for a solution, but we didn't actually look for the business aspect. Okay, we thought, okay, definitely there is a demand, but that demand will drive. That was our intention. But what really failed is, because once we don't have too much experience in the business side, secondly, we were not sure which platform we should try. Okay, last year we tried in the retail segment in Cochin city. We tried to provide this product in multiple retail outlets, but the sales were very less and all the products came up. Parallelly, luckily, in the beginning itself, we started in the online segment. Okay, during the incorporation itself, we whatever the, because due to all the COVID restrictions, the shops were, so we started initially with the online segment. Luckily, we identified that the online is kind of a giving good response. Okay, so we started in that aspect, but during the COVID time, it was going fine, but later as the COVID cases declines, this actually started going down. So we actually realized, okay, innovation is not the only solution to get into a good startup event or successful, but rather along with innovation, ideas can be hundreds of ideas can be born out, but successful execution along with value creation and market fit, product market fit, I used to say, if that aspects are not covered, then whatever innovations we bring will not have any value. Okay, will not have any value. If we are getting only a good value, then it will have a sustainability. Okay, we need the customers to repeatedly buy this, not one time purchase. Then only it will have a kind of a value creation. Okay, so that is the critical area we kind of realized during these days. And from last few months, we are trying to build everything in that aspect and trying to rework everything, so that is actually again started witnessing good sales. So even after COVID, okay, I mean, now from the last 2 months itself, the sales were increasing in Amazon and the ratings were increased. Okay, so now, but the problem right now, since the product was not well developed after looking to a particular market segment, the pricings, the unit economics, everything is not proper. That means the margins may not be good right now, but we are getting sales. Okay, that should not be the way. Whatever product you are selling, there should be margin coming to the margin or profit coming to the company. Otherwise, there will not be any growth. Correct. So we are trying. Then there are quite a lot of strategies we applied. First, we worked with a very huge marketing channels who work for online companies, but we realized that the association with them, it's not good enough. Okay, because we need to learn what exactly is happening, what should be done, rather than working with someone else, some agency. So we stopped all those. Then we started the learning basics. Okay, instead of doing in multiple platforms, we focused on Amazon. What are the strategies, what are the campaigns, type of campaigns they used to do, what are the optimizations, how keeping multiple campaigns, giving some small budget, see how it responds, whether it is going fine, then again scale up, give more value. I mean, like the I mean the marketing heads. So things like that, many things have kind of we worked out, and over the last few months, it is showing kind of a successful figure. And from the last June onwards, the sales is starting picking up higher. Now our plan is to build into more platforms. Parallelly, we are coming up with various different product segments. Okay, we are trying to increase the product segments to multiple products. For example, health related multiple products are coming into pipeline right now. So these are the overall things happening in that aspect. Secondly, yeah, so that is a realistic story. Now coming to the transition, like from a academic side to the startup side, what are the key things we need to really look on? Because nowadays the startup word itself is a fancy. Okay, if everyone says a startup, okay, that's something great. And but if you really look the statistic, the majority of the startups are getting failed. Okay, only very few you can see. Always we remember the names of unicorns or the big makers, but who are failed, we are not getting into the picture. Correct. So what exactly is the problem for that? So something we realized during our journey, I'm just bulleting out something like, as a founder, the key and the most important thing is, what is actually our founder's vision? What is our basic interest? Okay, whether to uh, whether to become a successful person, or our intention is to bring some good valued products to the market, or work for next 10 years, get some good returns, then settle in life. Okay, so multiple aspect will be there from person to person. Like my interest may not be completely matching with my co-founder's interest. Correct. But there will be some kind of a unique areas where everyone has a common interest. Okay, so try to identify that. Or because since we started from our friendship and then grown together, that is the way we grown. But in other case it might be different. Okay, there can be an idea, there can be a kind of a purpose, and trying to look for the co-founders. People also used to work in that aspect. Okay, because there will be kind of an ideation stage, and from the ideation stage, because the team should be complementary, as I said in the beginning. Or we are in the from the biological, I mean the research background, nobody is there from the business side. Even if in Tanmatra, if you look, nobody is there from the digital side. If you totally look into take up our activities, now we are training persons to make them completely aware of that segment. Okay, and there should be someone who actually know how the business management, some MBA kind of a graduate, or who can actually take up the role of a CEO. So these should be the first goal if we are trying to enter into this segment. Okay, what is the real founder's vision in the beginning? After 5 years, what, or after 10 years, what is your plan? That should be very well clear. Secondly, the team should be complementary. Okay, whoever, if all the persons are having the same skill, then there'll be a kind of a place where we don't have clarity in the other head. Okay, so that should be retained. Second aspect is the willingness to take calculated risk. I want to underline that statement, calculated risk, because startup is always a risk. Okay, no matter whatever in the which age group, or even there were some statistics saying that whoever starting startups in the early, I mean less than 25 age, the failure chances are much higher. Whereas the startups who are actually starting in the late 35 40s, above 40s, no, the success chances is very high. That is very well clear, because whenever with our energy and during this college days, especially at your stage, okay, we'll have very great friendships, very driving force, all energy in our hands and legs. We have the guts to tip the world the other side. So, but that is not the only factor which actually drives a startup story. Okay, we should have the patience, we should have the perseverance to continue from the failures. Okay, and of course the experience. If you look the major companies in the domain we are working, Tanmatra, okay, Mama Earth, or oil, like what was that, Wow Steel, okay, Sugar Cosmetics. Okay, if you look all their profiles, okay, it's not actually born some kind of an accident way. Okay, so they have a well defined plan. The founders or the co-founders are an experienced in this retail segment for quite a lot of time. They worked in this industry for some time. Then they identify the niche areas, what exactly is to be done. Okay, then only they are actually stepping it and investing their time. If you look, ITC or Dabur or Hindustan Unilever, they took hell of years, 20, 25 years to be the giants in the market. But if you look Mamaearth, it in 4 years' time, it is crossing three-digit crore revenues. Okay, it became a unicorn in just only for 5 years time. So that actually shows the power of the online segment plus calculated activities. That's what I was to say. We should have the attitude or the ability to take calculated risk. I cannot be in this position for long time if everything is getting failed. Okay, but I can give a calculated risk. What exactly? Okay, in my finance, for example, when I am working in the startup segment before the funding, we are compromised with the salary. Okay, we don't have too much salary. We need to sacrifice in the family side. Okay, because multiple things are happening and our we are working almost like 24/7. Okay, so into my family side, I can say my wife is actually a Ayurveda doctor. She's doing MD, so she's in a different city. My kid, 5-year-old kid, is growing with my grandparents. Okay, but because of all these aspects, even the family or the financial part, everything need to be taken care for some time with it. So that's what I'm saying. It's a calculator. It's not a risk. It's not jumping blindly to the other side, but we have plan B. Okay, so now again, if you can think in this direction, okay, we have multiple entities. Tanmatra is coming, Lexmatra is coming. How we can manage it? We are really finding it difficult to. So then Tanmatra need to be phrased into a different angle. Okay, where it will be mostly looking onto a kind of a B2B business rather than a B2C. Because if we want to grow, it's something like a kind of a Mama Earth or heavy duty brands, it's a hell of effort and work behind, but rather we can develop products that actually is a not a hectic job for us. Okay, associating with the major partners and things like that, we are trying to build different products, but that will go for a B2B, sometimes even contract manufacturing, even white labeling. We may the Tanmatra life word may not come into the picture, but overall if you look, the company will be growing. Okay, the employees or everyone, those aspects will be properly taken care. But our prime intention, since the cancer, it's a major kind of a social issue, I mean the kind of a health issue. So, and since our expertise lies mostly on that aspect, we are giving right now the most I mean the preference everything to this aspect. Okay, parallelly going Tanmatra in a different dimension. Okay, because ultimately if you what you want to from the business perspective, okay, whether you bring profit, or that's what I said, the founder's vision. If we are planning this company to go with this angle, develop some kind of a innovative products, but marketing on those aspects we are not doing, that is fine enough. We are good enough with that, no issue. But innovation will actually happen in those area. So that is our that's what I was telling, willingness to take calculated risk. Whatever we are doing, we need to have a milestone. We need to have a 5-year plan. Okay, in what plan year, what actually is the kind of a plan we are doing, what are the risk associated. If it is not working, what is the plan A or plan B, things like that. Third aspect is well clarity about what we are trying to do. Okay, the business model. Okay, because this I actually realized from the last year only, because I being this part of the startup ecosystem with various supporting agencies, government, our incubator center. I started attending various types of the boot camps, educational programs, and things like that. Then only we started realizing the real needs. What are the fighting armaments or your backpack for traveling into this journey. Okay, you should have a proper business model which actually address all the domains. Okay, maybe I'll just quickly turn on the presentation mode. Yeah, for example, this one. Okay, to have a proper business model, what are the components really needed in all these domains to address? If you are able to completely address all these domains, I think you are ready to jump into. Okay, so for example, what is a problem? What is the unique problem you are trying to build or trying to address? Okay, again, if it is in the FMCG sector, okay, you have hair oils, okay, which actually protects the hair. I mean, the dandruff or the many products you can come. But what out of all these products, what is your differentiator? What is a unique problem you're trying to address? Okay, if you're coming into a kind of a unique segment, you can see some kind of an example, something I put it here. Okay, the problem is something you're trying to alleviate or trying to solve with some kind of a technology or some kind of an innovation or some kind of a service. Okay, but whether it is defined properly, and this is a very interesting Airbnb model I always try to read again, because how they have addressed, everyone knows, might be knowing Airbnb because it's a kind of a local hosting kind of a, I mean, online provider, service provider. So we have different portals for accommodation in a city, like if we can have Make My Trip, or many online portals are there where we can get all this stuff. Okay, but they are trying to address a different aspect. Okay, hotels, for example, if a travel lover or a adventurous person, when they travel, they actually want to explore the real culture of the society or the kind of total ecosystem in that city, right? If you go for a hotel, they will only enjoy a kind of a, I mean, they will not be able to enjoy it, so just for an accommodation, temporary accommodation for some time. Okay, and also it is costly. Okay, so the major problems they Airbnb were trying to address is price. The first, price is an important concern for customer booking online. Okay, second aspect, hotels always get disconnected from the city and its culture. Okay, no easy way exists to book a room with a local. So this was the key problems they identified in the beginning. Okay, and they provided a solution for that. It's an online platform where the rent out people can connect to the host travelers, okay, through this platform. The advantages is that it all around, I mean, around the world they have established, and both parties can be connected, and both parties have a cost saving and also share the culture. So likewise, we should have a defined problem and its solution. So this is something. Now if I'm looking for a different model, for example, some drug or something, okay, it should be able to properly define. For example, I have a disease kind of a condition where this is affecting this much percentage of population in the world. Okay, causing this much financial damage. Okay, we have a technology which helps to overcome this with this kind of an investment, or I mean, the value, and it is trying to solve that problem. So specificity should be there in all the problems we are stating. Second is the value proposition. Okay, or the what is the unique selling proposition? Okay, for example, if I take the case of Mama Earth, they are actually providing all the shampoo or the soap wash, baby care products, everything. We have many players in that segment, but what makes them different is they use the ingredients where it is tested and the toxicity is very minimal. Okay, so that is their unique selling proposition. Likewise, what extra you are giving to the public or the customer, why the customer wants to buy this product from you, this should be properly addressed. Okay, and the technology should be properly defined. Okay, for example, we are developing a technology at the lab scale. Okay, mixing quite a lot of things and stuff like that, but if it is not scalable, or if we are scaling it, it is too much costly affair. Okay, for example, I can say that like that, getting some consumables and doing a kind of a, maybe think of like a product or a drug. It is actually trying to for 100 rupees if we can do in the lab scale, but in the medical back in clinical segment, we need to look on different conditions, how to manufacture it, what are the clinical grade materials available. If the material is not having clinical grade, we cannot go for a pharmaceutical product. So for paying it 100 rupees here in the lab scale, and if you are taking it to the commercial pilot scale, if the cost is too much, okay, and the market is not such a big market, if we want to have a much higher volume to recover this production cost, then that is not a viable business model. So the technology should be defined in each scales, whether it's in the pilot scale, whether it's in the commercial stage, whether it's in the mid market strategy stage. Everything should be properly well defined, so that the commercials or the financials should be very clear, and we will always have a competitive advantage. Okay, the the fourth one is actually that the competitive analysis. What are the strength and weakness of the products in the similar line? You cannot be the only service product, because many times, even we were also used to think, okay, this, we don't have any similar competing products. But you need to realize that that problem of antimicrobial protection or something else is again solved by some other product. That itself is also our competitive product. Okay. Luckily, when I was in a discussion with a kind of a business mentor, so he used to say that, see, who is the biggest during the COVID time, who is the biggest competition for Indigo or the flight airlines kind of a person. So I said, maybe from the group itself, someone else. But he was saying post COVID, Zoom is becoming the biggest competition for airline segment. How? Because many of the I mean, even we are talking right now. Okay, correct. Previously, any conference or international visits, everything is for some kind of a purpose, a meeting, things like that. Now everything is kind of a getting shortlisted to a web-based interaction. Correct. Instead of coming to your college, I'm sitting in my home and giving this talk. So likewise, uh, the competition really need to be analyzed. Maybe competition may be coming 3 or 4 years later. That also should be witnessed. Now, if you look at the vaccine side, the mRNA based vaccines are heavily kind of a coming high. So, in particular duration, maybe 3 to 4 years time, conventional vaccines will be replaced by the mRNA kind of a vaccines. So that's what we need to have, a broader perspective of this competition, analyze its strength and weakness. Everything should be properly then. And the other part is the revenue model. How you are making money out of it. Okay. Without a making money out of it component, this cannot be worked out. Correct. An investor, because every company startup investor is a part and parcel. We do not have the enough revenues to run our own. I mean, the funding or the capital to run our own. So we need to approach for various investors. So what investors will be really looking? Okay, if there is a total addressable market of maybe 100 crores. Okay, if I can get 100 crores in 1 year, that's the potential again. And if my product is costing only maybe 10 crore, okay, and all the other association marketing cost, so that calculation should be properly done. Okay, if you do, this is the cogs or the production cost material, this is the marketing cost material. If we have this much number of customers in an year, this will be our projections, and this will be the profit. Now that is actually the profit part. But as a company model, like once an investor comes, okay, once an investor comes, he will be investing some 50 crores or 100 crores. He'll be looking for some returns. Maybe 200 crores will be the kind of returns he will be looking, anticipating. Whether that leverage we have this with this potential innovation, okay, whether we will be able to serve the investor with sufficient returns during that time. So that should be also properly worked out. So that is the revenue model. It should be properly defined. Then go to market strategy, which actually I actually explained in the earlier slides. Okay, why our product is not actually fitting in all the products, because even though out of distress people have used sanitizer, that is not our actual customers. Okay, actual customers is that the people who regularly use the sanitizer at a particular frequency, they used to do, even if it's COVID or not, people used to carry. Correct, that is the real customer. So the other things are kind of a time bound. Okay, now reaching to that customer, what is actually the strategy? Okay, whether for example, sometimes no, the same, you can see the same product you can have in multiple packs. Okay, the premium packs will be there, or the lowest pricing pack will be there. Quite a lot of products, even in the the specs industry. Okay, the cooling glass, you can see the same companies are actually providing both models. The premium model, so the premium model is strategized or marketed to a particular community, whereas the same quality product with a different packing size, it is addressing different. So, and what are the kind of marketing projects and how, so these aspects should be properly studied and planned. Then of course I said the team. Okay, each team should be self complementary. Okay, if everyone has the same skills, there can be always a dip in particular aspect. Okay, so the business administration, or the, if it is a technology IT oriented industry, okay, there should be a coding or language or a digitization partner which he's a master. Okay, we cannot go for a company to outsource this and do for us, that will be super expensive. So based on the domain and based on the interest, there should be a complementary team built. Okay. And one more important aspect I want to convey here is any ideas, any ideas becomes a successful model only if the execution is proper. I can coin like idea is only 5%. 95% is execution. Okay, so that for that is well-defined team is completely required. Like for example, you can look the Swiggy or the Licious kind of a the online app-based companies. Okay, they are not working with a heavy innovation or patentability or anything like that, but they have a small idea like how Airbnb or such models are coming. Okay, small idea, Licious, it's a meat supplier. So that was a completely unsegregated market, and they came up with some kind of unique, complete plan where people are used to it and buy product from them. So they combined an unsegregated market into a kind of a single umbrella. Okay, Swiggy, how it works. So this is a model basically. It's not only the Swiggy team can. I mean, no patent related to such kind of, but the team has got the strength to execute and implement. Okay, replicating another Swiggy may not work because that the first time model, of course, concept has got the first time will be the early movers, but if they are not sustainable, another person will come with a second level idea and they will blow up. So team is very critical. Then the financial projection, of course, a financial guy should be there because he should really understand. I am just cracking my head to identify how actually these financial projections are. Luckily, I have some friends and people who can try to little bit guide us. Okay, and there are mentorship programs which help us to, because right now, as a complete team perspective, I say I'm the finance guy, finance guy with a research experience. So finance is a very critical thing we need to take up. So once it is kind of a scalable or into a safe zone it has crossed, then we have to appoint the kind of a highly qualified people, the CFOs and CEOs. They will be super costly. So till that time, it's our time. I mean, it's our story and it's our effort. If we can see, every startup has got three phases, I can generally say. It's the productization or ideation stage. Okay, second as phase will be the kind of the scalable, not scalable, the minimum viable model. Okay, for example, we are getting some kind of an early revenues. Okay, whether we are getting some kind of an early revenues, whether the product is actually showing a product market fit. So all those indicators will have some kind of a growth. Third phase is the scale up phase. So the scale up phase, it will be a pakka experienced team should be there to take up the scale up phase. Otherwise, it will be a kind of a complete blind experiment. Okay. So these are the three phases if you look. So right now, if we ourselves analyze ourselves, we'll be in the transition between the first and the second phase. Okay. We have not reached the third phase. Third phase is something bigger. Okay, yeah, coming to back to the point. So another aspect is the milestones and the progress indicators. How you analyze that you are in the success path or your ideas are working out. Okay, or you need to shift the gear to a different thing. So at every stage there should be a milestone indicator. For example, next to 1 year, this is our target and this is the person. For example, we got a grant and with the government, and one of the objective is how many number of units we sell, what are the potential markets, what is the percentage of the organic sales. Organic sales means people without any marketing strategies come back and buy. So in a general perspective, I can say 4% or something is the industry standard, but I kept greater than 5. But we were impressed. In the last week, I submitted the report. We were impressed that we were getting 10 percentage organic sales. That means the numbers are less, the purchases are less, but out of that 10 percentage people are buying back the product. That means that itself is a product market fit. Now we need to fill the other gaps to make it a pakka scalable model. Okay. For example, what we did is in an online model itself. Initially, we were doing sales of 250 ml kind of a packs. Okay, but that is not at all a viable. All the shipping cost and we were practically having no margins. Even we were running loss. Okay, then we moved the strategy to focus to 5 liter instead of, and we realized that in the online segment, many from the offices or the institutions, they used to buy it through online. So we made a 5 liter packing, and our the key seller right now, the best seller is 5 liter, so that we have some margins or some cash flow, positive cash flow to have a better growth. Okay, so likewise we should have a proper milestones and a proper strategies. That's what I want to convey. And then exit strategy. Okay, especially when an investor comes, as I said, he'll be always looking for a return. I am investing in this. I am investing in this. I mean, the company, not to for the sake of developing an innovative product. They want to get return. Okay. So, what is the return strategies for that? So, I think if we can address all these setup, you are well worked with some kind of a plan. Okay, vetting it with business mentors or experts in the field. Okay, then only you should jump into any startup plan. I'm kind of repeating it. If you have any kind of an idea, okay, don't just simply put some money and test it and immediately address all these points. If all the points are very well clear, okay, take up to the next level. Otherwise, the failure chances will be much higher. This actually we experienced with our journey. Not there were no one to help us in this aspect in the beginning, but we because of course there is a learning phase. So if any founder or co-founder or entrepreneur, there will be always a learning phase. So right now we are actually investing in our learning phase to have a better learning and trying to apply that to the future years. So yeah, so I think I'm already covered because I planned many things, but since the slides got completely read now, so I am just talking in random perspective. So I think I am done with this. So I should thank many of my funding partners. I mean, government, especially our incubator CCAM Bangalore, TST, TBT. So without this fund, that is very critical because earlier time in the early stage, getting the right investors is very difficult. So the ideal situation is like how we do our academic project, research projects. We will have a, I mean, idea. We will have a research plan. We submit to the government grants. They will fund. Likewise, there are many startup programs, seed funding programs from the government side, and we utilized all these funding events, with which we are right now able to have a safer position without burning too much. Now the investors are coming and investing into this so that we have better clarity. So these are also very critical. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank all my our company investors and the government programs for all their support. So I think we can move for any interactive session because that will give a more better realistic understanding for you, I think so.
Yeah, sure, sir. So now the session is open for discussion. So before opening for the discussion, I will just say how I reached to Girish sir for this particular talk. Uh, Actually, as sir said, during the COVID pandemic, uh, everybody was searching for novel sanitizer. Stay long because all the ones which were in the market was just the normal alcohol sanitizer. So I came to this particular product which is called as Herba Nuriel. I am a regular user of this particular product, and that's how I reached on to Thanmatra Life. So I actually got this ad. As sir said, that, I didn't see this in any of the stalls, etc. I came across the ad of this particular product in Facebook. There was a scroll going on with this ad, and what catched my eyes was that 8 hours protection. It was not really out of the curiosity to buy it. I was just searching how come this 8 hours protection was being given by a particular product. And I after I just started searching in the website, uh, I found exciting stuff. The product along with the product description, I think it is also available now. Along with the product description, they had also given how they have tested it and how it has been. And I'm sure that I have searched after that. I have also searched with any other sanitizers, whether they have given something like that. I never found such report. The sense that they have given an entire protocol by which this is being tested in a lab. And being into science and a scientific person, it was really happy for me to see such a report which is given how this work, and that was convincing to me. That's how I jumped on to order for this product, which is called as Thanmatra, sanitizer. And also, I also use the other product which showed in the slide, which is the one which is in eczema. And I hope that both the products work fine with the what they say. And coming to the other aspect, as Sir told, when I started with a new innovation and such products which is called as come to the category which is called as translational research, where research was happening only in the labs is now translated into society. Uh, as I said, such startups or such translational research also face such events where, as I said, as food is now being declined, the use of sanitizer, or people as they switch on to the normal mode of life without using sanitizer. So, uh,
I think Vinith has got some connectivity issue. Meantime, anyone else has got anything to?
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello, sir.
yeah, audible is audible.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, audible.
Okay. Sir, usually when students go for startups, then they will be finding their business partners as their friends. So, what all pitfalls will be there when you are looking for a partner?
hello, sir. Am I audible now?
Yeah, audible now. Audible.
Yeah. So I mean to ask you the question is that
Yeah,
when such events happen, when the people shift to when their lifestyle changes, when a product is being brought up by such a startup, how will the startup manage to be in a position, or how they will be thriving to move on in such circumstances?
yeah,
I
that is
think
a
this
very
might be faced by many other startups too.
correct. So that is a very important question. Even we personally, I mean, verified with many industry leaders. Okay, even many other prominent companies. We had a discussion, and so one thing in short, everyone suggested is that no, if we want to, for example, if you want to bring a new concept, okay, I have a new concept, okay, if you want to implement to the market or to have a better success, no, usually most of the time the majority giants, I mean the major farm, the corporate players will be able to implement that. You know why? Because the kind of marketing effect, okay, sometimes we used to see very attractive ad films, okay, small 10 viral video films, but that may not be directly related to for example, recently I saw ID Doshamav, you know that. So that company, with a very good touching in a background of a cancer patient and their family incidents. Okay, so such kind of a touching things should be. So what are the touch points we really create? Okay, unfortunately, all these major touch points are super expensive. Okay, so that a startup cannot immediately in the early stage able to do. For example, you know everyone, Heel is a major brand. Okay, have you noticed during the COVID time only they actually came up, and Rahul is a good friend of us. So they came up with a different strategy. They utilized the complete hoardings in the city to introduce their sanitizers in the beginning. No other means, no other marketing strategy. So they consolidated everything in the earlier time to make the hoardings pan Kerala to present this heel word. So everyone actually recognized. Now, in this group itself, how many of you know that Thanmatra sanitizer is available in market? Because we did our campaigns through digital platform, Facebook, then Google Ads, everything we tried, but we had a limitations in doing with the budget part. Okay, so only a fraction of people will be viewing this thing. That's why we moved to a single platform. Our major focus right now is actually happening only on Amazon. Okay, because we can increase the heads, the marketing heads in that one, and we can have special strategies. Now, if we become a kind of a when the our customer base is something solid, if we have a sufficient customer base, then based on that we can go for further investments and go for other strategies. So identifying the right market, the right customers, and the right marketing strategies and funding. So if everything is kind of a properly connected, then it can be properly done. But for unfortunately for most of the startups, that is not viable. So if a Dettol company comes with a unique innovation, it is very easy for them because all they have the very distribution channels, everything is well structured, and they have enough funding for marketing. So they'll be able to easily implement compared to a startup. So now we are also learning from that, and with which our next R&D products we are not immediately doing because we had many kind of a things happening in our lab, and we are trying for a different sprayable sanitizers. I mean, sorry, bandages, many innovative things. But what we realized is now immediately if you pitch it all those, it will not have any value. So right now we are trying to build a sustainable business with something similar kind of a trading or contract manufacturing where will things will be manufactured by some other people, but it will have some USP, but it will have a sellable aspect. Okay, then we want to bring some revenue. Then only we can provide or show a good model to an investor. Okay, so that is a very important question. This is the answer for that. And one more question was asked, right? When selecting the right team. Okay, that is also a major because in our case this is started with our research common interest, our intentions. I mean, everyone had a like-minded people, but when it comes to the business aspect, no, it should not be, of course, friendship, because even if in a failure time, no, the partner should be able to properly kind of a understandable person. Okay, many situations what actually we came across is in different occasions, the founders will have different interest. After 4 or 5 years they will have different interest, they want to go for abroad, or many things used to happen. Okay, but identifying the right partners with the right skills is the most important criteria. Nowadays the trend is, if you look the job portals, okay, they used to start listing for co-founders, which is a new thing, right? You can see looking for co-founders in this domain. That means the main founder or the main person will have an idea, he might have executed something to some level, then he will be looking for some kind of a partner where he will have a complementary kind of a skills, maybe in the business administration, maybe in some other aspect. Okay, that is very important. So this should be properly taken care. Is that addressed properly?
Yes, sir. Sir, one more question.
Yeah.
Whenever we come with an idea, with an innovation from our side, we'll be having a bias towards that. So, how do you demystify the bias and the actual market value of that idea that we have?
That is a tough question because emotions is a key part of every human being, correct? So emotions, trying to overcome the emotions and looking to the real analytics is our maturity basically. Okay, even I to some extent in the early stage, we, so this is an innovative product, why we should left out in the market. There was a situation where we thought, okay, whether we should continue, it is not creating, it is taking our time and effort, and no proper returns. But and if we have a proper understanding of all the points I already addressed, okay, the analytics part, or the each bullets are properly covered, you'll have a solution for that. Okay, then it will not. So all these bias comes from emotions. Okay, and business is not emotions, it is it is actually something really works in the analytics part. Okay, there should be everything should be quantified rather than quality in the quality terms. So work out each domains. Okay, I try to identify, for example, if you are trying to build some product, okay, identify the segment, try to look what are the competitors in that one, okay, or what are the patents right now in that one area happening right now, what are the commercial values, okay, how much is the, for example, if this is a competitive company, what is the kind of revenue they are making, okay, in any year, okay, what is their overall revenues, okay, and if it's heavily crowded, so there will be standard business reports which we will try to see what are the actual real customers, the numbers. So try to build some relation between all those stuff and try to identify our space. If you are not trying to identify our space, then never step into that aspect.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Any other questions?
I think I might have kind of gone through overhead now. So because I was actually trying to build a small presentation, I wanted to really make it in a simple way rather than because it is not easy to consolidate it, the entire segments into presentation. Because I used to do talks in Kuzat and main local, but that was more of an interactive. I plainly asked them, okay, ask me the questions. That is a better way to explain. They will have a better understanding. So I hope things are clear. Let's see. Is it time is crossed or
Yeah, it's okay, sir. If we do not have any questions, we'll
definitely
close
yeah,
it.
I can wait. No
Sir,
issues. Yeah,
Yeah.
can I have one more question?
yeah,
How did you initially find the funding? What all sources did you?
yeah.
I know that
So
it's very difficult to have funding for a new product or a new
yeah,
idea.
yeah. So
So how do you
yeah.
suggest?
So government is promoting very heavily on the startup activities. Okay. Initially, definitely, we need to have our own small capital. That may be sometimes buying some chemicals, consumable, whatever on the development part, no, to test its idea. Okay, so that should be borne by our own. Okay, maybe some small, but sometimes it works the other way. There are different seed grant programs. Okay, seed grant like the Kerala Startup Mission is having ideation grant where even up to 7 lakhs they will give for the innovative ideas. Okay, so this 7 lakhs can be used for all these small manpower or working out the experiments or things like that or marketing. So many government programs are there to support this aspect in the early stage. Okay, and followed by that the friends and family. If everyone is, I mean, this part is very clear, the most supporting people will be friends and family who can actually help us in
With
investing
the
and
program.
yeah, so that will be can be tapped on. So we actually tapped that opportunity, and once that again crossed to a safer stage, then we looked for the angel investors. Okay, these are the early stage investors which help us to move to the next stage. Okay, now if things are fine, now we need to definitely in Lexmatra will be the kind of a bigger funding picture. So we need to really look on the venture capital funding and institutional fundings in the later stage. Okay, so the early stage it is 100% a small fraction of on funding plus these government supportive initiatives. And in fact, I was surprised, like government of India, like 1 month back, they are actually going conducting all these Bairak 10th year programming anniversary programs, 75 years of Indian independence, everything. So our product got selected in the 75 product category. They invited us to Delhi with all bearing all the expense and participate in the event. So Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the event, and we have separate booklets of all these innovative products. So that means government is spending quite a lot of amount to make innovations, because today's innovations or the startups might be the tomorrow's bigger revenue backbone for the country, right? So in that way, government grants we should definitely look forward.
Also, how do you look into this kind of crowd funding platforms like
Crowdfunding, I'm not too much experienced, but see, for example, if the crowdfunding usually works in a kind of a social kind of a sector. Okay, for example, we used to in long back for butterfly. Okay, because everything works in the donation, like our own people or the many well wishers or the CSR supports from industries used to fund us for these all the activities. But that time we actually for a particular patient we there are some online portals which actually we utilize to get some. But crowdfunding, we see always one point we need to really make it in our mind is whoever puts money into the company, okay, they want returns, okay. And if the number of people who are actually putting money to the company is increasing, if the number of investors are increasing, for sure for future it will be kind of a it will be a headache, okay, because there can be different interest and I mean the approvals and so that can definitely go wrong. But one thing definitely everyone needs to really understand is that equity is the most expensive funding tool. Okay. If we have any for example, if you are doing some small scale industry business, if we can manage our own business with a OD or some kind of a temporary loan, no, that is the ideal thing. But scalability cannot be done with such kind of a small scale funding strategies. That definitely investing proper studied investor, the who actually understand this segment. Okay, if I bring a IT industry investor to our company, that will be ruining, because they'll be actually looking for the returns in the third year or fifth year. But for a healthcare or a pharma kind of a setup, it will be only after 10 years sometimes. Okay, so the dynamics, the market dynamics or the segment, the investors should be a proper selection. Okay, only who actually understand the segment should be connected to our company. So crowdfunding, I'm not that kind of a positive, and I not experimented also in that aspect as a for a startup, technology startup.
Okay, sir. Any students with any questions, any doubts?
If there are no questions, we'll wind up the session. Thank you so much, Girish sir, for coming up and sharing your entrepreneurship experience with our students and also the faculty. And also happy to have you as our resource person, because whenever I just call for this IIC program, so we have a tie-up with many schools, which is related to this IIC and MHRD. And when I introduce myself as a science faculty, an immediate question from them is that how a science teacher comes into this particular one, which is an innovation. So normal people have a mindset that innovation is only for computer and mechanics. So people like you are an answer for that, where innovation can also happen in science, in normal science, or in life sciences and other areas too. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Vinny. Thank you, all faculty and students. And I can be always reachable. I mean, if I want to get my, I can share it here. My email ID. And any kind of support or if, for example, any kind of if any students want to become an internship or something, no, definitely I can look that opportunity as well, any kind of support, because this is actually a kind of a not it's a kind of a mutual growth. Okay, whatever in better way I can, because I can support the society or the individual career, definitely I can be a part of that. So thanks for this opportunity, and thank you inviting for this event. Thanks a lot. Bye.